Welcome. This is Eric from EAI, Elemental Arts Initiative, in collaboration with Erosha, bringing you a brief preview of the coming cosmic weather. The fall equinox is here. It's an important and honored day when the Earth is tilting just so that the days and the nights are just about the same length everywhere here on Earth. It's a balance point between summer and winter, between light and dark. And this year, it also marks the beginning of Libra season, as it does every year, and the beginning of fall, as it does every year. But this year, it also is a particularly auspicious equinox moment this year. It's well placed between two eclipses. And these two eclipses just so happen to represent a change in the nodal patterns of eclipses. Eclipses come in batches. So, for example, the last several eclipses have been on the Libra Aries axis. The last full moon in Libra was in the Aries season, and that eclipse that took place back in April, early April, I believe, April 8th of this last year. This year, the eclipse that is the new moon coming up, that is the solar eclipse, this solar eclipse that will be taking place on October 2nd, this is a Libra solar eclipse. The solar eclipse is a time when the moon is trying to hide the sun from us. A lunar eclipse is when the Earth is hiding the moon from us. The lunar eclipses that just took place on September 17th took place on the axis between Pisces and Virgo. This last one was a Pisces full moon. It is a full moon in Pisces when the sun is in Virgo because the two signs are opposite. So it is literally and figuratively, eclipses are about opposites. They're about holding opposites, light and dark and opposite energies. And so even when you have a solar eclipse where there's a new moon, it still is dealing with the tension of opposites as the moon hides the light. They are hiding it, its ego. The sun and our ego become hidden from ourselves. And when our ego becomes hidden, we have an opportunity to see what's in the dark. Too often we think of justice as an eradication of darkness. We think of justice, and I'm going to speak about justice as it is the theme of Libra. It is the word and it is the idea that most closely associated with Libra as a opportunity for us or a desire for us to eradicate the darkness, to eradicate that which is unjust, to eradicate that which does not comply with the designated or expected norm. And yet, the very situation that does not comply with the expected or designated norm is the very thing that creates pearl. The first half of life, we tend to avoid the darkness. We avoid that which brings out the shadows. That's the tendency. This is most often where we live, is in a desire to avoid the dark. And yet, as this eclipse comes up, Black Moon Lilith sits there. Mercury sits there. The moon sits there. The sun sits there. The moon and the sun are 10 degrees of Libra. Mercury's at 11. Black Moon Lilith is 10 degrees. They're all square Mars. They're opposite the North Node, which is what happens when you have an eclipse. That North Node in Aries, the Libra Aries nodal pattern that we're leaving behind. Moving into next year, the Virgo Pisces pattern is asking us a new way to think about Libra. It's asking for a new approach to justice, a new approach to our voice. It's got Mercury there. It's in Venus. It's an air sign. Its cardinal means new. Libra is justice. It's beauty. The justice that seeks and the Libra that seeks just to have things be peaceful. Don't ruffle the feathers. Don't upset anyone. Make sure the environment looks good. Make sure the people are happy and peaceful and good. Make sure nobody's upset. Make sure Aries is cool. Make sure he's okay. This is what this eclipse is calling out. Don't be afraid to ruin the moment. Don't be afraid to express. Don't be afraid to use that voice. This is Black Moon Lilith. Black Moon Lilith is the voice that got kicked out of Eden. Adam was with Black Moon Lilith. She had a voice. He said, no, I want Eve. I want someone who complies. I want someone who just gets along to get along. So he kicks out Black Moon Lilith. It's hidden. It's the hidden voice. And this is also the justice that is in the tarot. And the tarot justice, this card that is so much like Libra, is really there asking us and saying to us, there is no knowledge without action. There's no action without a response. And there's no reaction, no new action without an appropriate recalibration to that response. And that becomes the polarity. That becomes the yin and the yang. That becomes the Aries and the Libra. Act, respond, reorient, readjust, act, respond, reorient, readjust, act, respond, and so on. And this is the justice. It's dynamic. It's alive. It's a voice that is searching and seeking and living out questions. It's a voice that doesn't always know the answer. It's a voice that's not, it's not a righteous, indignant voice for some perceived place of perfection, but rather an indignant and righteous voice for the process and the evolution of the becoming human, the fullness of our humanity. It is the voice within all of us that is the feminine. It's the voice inside of me that is hurt, that is in pain, that suffers, that is embarrassed, that has shame, and has doubt, and has desires that do not cooperate, and has longings and ideas that distract. And it is the holding of that. It is the container that sees that and accepts that and holds that. It's me expressing that and then finding, oh, wait, cross that line. Oh, wait, that didn't quite work out. Oh, wait, there's a response. This is the justice. It's dynamic. It's alive. This is an eclipse with Mercury, with the sun, with the moon, in a new, as eclipses, as solar eclipses are, it is a new moon. It's a new sun. It's a new us. It's a new person. And it's inhabiting what it is to be a body and a human that is actually listening to both its feminine and its masculine and finding harmony between the two in its inside and then expressing that. It would never want to damage the feminine out there or the masculine out there just because they are that. It would know that that justice is an interior justice, doing the work to heal and to hold and to love themselves so that their expression and their word corresponds to the process of what it is to become part of the evolution of consciousness. Venus is in Scorpio. It's going to sting. It's not always going to be clean. It's not always going to be pretty. And that Mars that I spoke about, it's in Cancer on this eclipse. Mars in Cancer is very uncomfortable. Mars in Cancer is clanging around with its shield and its armor, and it's trying to swim. Does him no use. And it's a foreshadowing of what's coming up. We've got a retrograde, a Mars retrograde coming up starting in December. that same Mars in Cancer that's at 15 degrees is going to creep into Leo here in a little bit. Come December, though, it's going to back up. It's going to come back into Cancer. It's going to come back into these places. And it's going to say to us, hey, what was happening here during this eclipse? What occurred? We are going to have an experience here, and then we're going to come back to it. And we're going to come back to this reconciling of these masculine and feminine energies, and where the masculine doesn't fit so well in the Cancer, the feminine feeling energy of Cancer, and where the airy Libra Venus, yes, is there, but this is also a sign, we must say, that is a yang sign, that is yang, that has been the expression of Venus for so long, that has been out there, that is taking Aries and saying, Aries, don't put me down, but I'm going to speak as you. Instead of saying, what can I bring to this? What can my feminine energy and my femininity bring to actually teach you, man, not to be weaker, not to destroy you or to put you down, and for me to inhabit a masculine space that sees that as a hierarchy and above and below, but rather to be like, how can we reconcile this? How can we have harmony? How can we have justice that is the reconciliation of opposing forces, of a polarity that is expressed through words that are not always perfectly said or perfectly stated, a reconciliation of energies that often conflict and often are two wounded children that are hurt. The Aries, the child, the inner child, is there, in there with that Libra energy. And can that Libra energy, that voice, that justice, see that the wounded person that's out there hurting people is the hurt, and that hurt body and that hurt energy, as the masculine so does, when it's hurt, it hurts outside, and as the feminine does, it hurts inside. Can we all look inside to see where those healing can take place? And the healing can only take place when we can sit with the parts of ourselves that we have shame around, or that we don't feel comfortable putting out there to the world, or that we don't feel worthy of love and belonging. Thank you, Brene Brown. Thank you. This voice, the voice of Black Moon Lilith, like I said, Lilith, that feminine entity that spoke up to Adam and he kicked out, she needs to come back. She needs to say and to speak. And I sit in a relationship where I have a woman who speaks and gives feedback. And that feedback often is feedback that is elucidating, illuminating, and that the current trajectory that I may be on may not be the best or most helpful to myself or to others. And her feedback reorients that. And she does that with justice, with a sense of grace. And sometimes the feedback doesn't always come gracefully. It doesn't always come exquisitely. It doesn't always come beautifully out there. But can we listen to that? And can we hold that? And can the masculine in us just hold the energy that's out there? The feedback, can we discern and hold that? And that is the relationship. We think about these words of retrograde as this Mars in Cancer retrograde is coming up. And as also during this period, we've got a Pluto retrograde coming back into Capricorn. The relating, what it is to relate is to be in retrograde so often. When we're just in harmony all the time and it just works, how often is that harmony actually laced with an avoidance of the truth, an avoidance of words and ideas that may disrupt the equilibrium, that may disrupt the peace? But as Pluto points out to us, And as these eclipses point out to us, there is no peace when one of the parties is not speaking her truth, is not speaking her pain or her hurt or that which she holds dear, or that which she finds to be tender, that which she finds to desire, that which she longs for, that which she is hungry for, that she craves. And that those cravings may disrupt the peace. How do we hold this? How do we find harmony? This is the justice. The justice is not static. The justice is not written in stone as though it lives on forever, but the justice is alive. And the justice that is alive must incorporate and hold a space for feedback, for the dynamic voice of the feminine expressed by men, by women, by humans, by all of us. And being able to hold that and reconciling, that is this eclipse. It is an eclipse of a reinvigorated, revitalized voice. Jupiter, Saturn, square we've been living through. The square of Pluto and Saturn, the Mars square. There's a lot of tough energy. There's been tough energy. There's going to be tough energy. But this tough energy, welcome it, is the very rigor provides us with the opportunities to find form in our newfound freedom, our newfound mutability, the parts of us as we dissolve, as we unravel, as we disintegrate. We cannot stay there in that mutability forever, but we need to find form and the structure. This comes from our capacity to look and find spaces that we feel safe, people that we feel safe with, ideas that we find safety in. And yet, the very safety that we find and we need that form becomes calcified and the cycle begins over again. Or we need a voice that cracks that open and then breaks it down and then the form again. And this is the weather. This is what the seasons teach us. This is what nature teaches us. You have a big earth and new growth. You have the fertility, the fecundity, the flourishing, and then at the ripeness of Libra, in its ripest of seasons, just perfect equilibrium, where it's harvesting this beauty, this perfection, right before the oncoming decay of Scorpio. But that Scorpion decay, it provides us with wisdom, because ultimately it's not about the superficial happiness. It's not about the superficial most that we can get and we can win. It's about finding meaning. It's about finding that which titillates us and excites us and moves us and brings us to tear, that which we feel worthy of grieving about, that which we feel worthy of longing for and loving and seeing and protecting and being moved by. That is to feel alive. And that comes often in the seasons where we feel the decay, or feel constricted, or we feel the end coming, or we start and begin to feel value life. And then the cycle goes. So in this eclipse, as there are these contrasts and these dark forces and these dark energies, can we see the dark as an opportunity, as something where there's obviously, it sounds trite, but where you can learn and you can grow and we can revisit and we can feel into these moments of grief, of sadness, of places of despair, challenges, and see that they are actually where we find meaning. And at the times that we think we want and that we're ecstatic and the joy and the light and all of that, is that but something of a fixed thing that's holding and confining and restricting? Sometimes it is not that way, but it can be, and it can be very limiting. And so as we seek out justice, it's important to be seeking and feeling into a justice that's inclusive of voice, and the voice of a feminine energy, of a voice that does not fit neatly into the existing form. And that's within ourselves, first and foremost, and then also expressed out in the world. So thank you. Thank you for listening to this EAI weather update on the upcoming Libra season with a focus on the upcoming eclipse on October 2nd, 2024. Thank you.